Thank you, Chair. Given the general concern about Chinese Communist Party global involvement in overseas affairs, many countries' affairs, why is there a Chinese contact point in Sydney? A contact point is a Chinese Communist Party staffed office set up in a country outside China.
Senator, I would refer you, I think, to the Department of Foreign Affairs for matters in relation to that.
Well, you're in charge of security.
I look after policy in relation to issues, but issues that go to bilateral relations with foreign governments or countries or their activities is a responsibility of the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Senator.
Well, I'm after Program 1.2, National Security and Resilience, so I'll continue.
But with respect, Senator Roberts, you can't just ask any question that includes those words in it. Like, there are particular departments that are better suited to answering certain questions, and I think DFAT is probably the best department to answer the questions you've just asked.
I would doubt that, Senator Watt, because this is a security issue.
Well, sure, but we want to make sure that you get the very best possible answers, and you've already heard from the officials that DFAT are probably best placed to
The
be up on
AFP Deputy
Thursday,
Commissioner Investigations Reece Kershaw addressed this matter in the Senate estimates hearings in November 2022. He said he did not believe the Sydney contact point was active, without going into further detail. So these questions are asked to update the current situation. Is there still a CCP-supported contact point in Sydney? That's a yes or no answer. It doesn't need to upset anyone.
Senator Roberts, the AFP will be appearing today, a little bit later. If you've got questions for them or following up from answers they've given at previous estimates, they will be available for you to ask those questions then. So
I'm stunned that the Department of Home Affairs cannot face questions about security.
I don't think
that's not a fair way to put it.
It is true.
That's your take on it, Senator Roberts. We've
correct.
tried to assist you by...
We'll let the people of Australia decide on what their
Well,
take
we've
is.
tried to assist you by telling you the two different groups who you could put those questions to, and you know, we're all going to be here all week and there's opportunities for you to ask those questions.
What's the role of Home Affairs in regard to national security and resilience? Minister?
Well, can I suggest that the Deputy Secretary in charge of that area answers your question, Senator Roberts?
Senator, in relation to resilience, we have a task force that was established in November of 2022, and that's to better position Australia for what we see as a significant set of risks and challenges that it faces across the full spectrum of national and human-induced crises. The task force leads on national resilience policy and strategy, and that ensures that the Commonwealth has the necessary policy, legislation and capability to manage what is really an increasingly complex and cascading set of concurrent national crises in the current geostrategic and geopolitical environment. So we provide advice to government around issues in relation to national security. We look after national security policy. We look after legislation for intelligence services. We look after countering foreign interference policy, terrorism policy, etc.
Counter and foreign interference policy? That's what I'm talking about.
And we do that in collaboration with other portfolio agencies.
So I'd like to know your role in that.
My role is as the National Counter Foreign Interference Coordinator.
So what would be your role in knowing whether or not there's a CCP-supported contact point in Sydney?
Senator, I'd have to take that question on notice as to, I think the evidence that was given to you by Commissioner Kershaw says that that is not an active...
Senator, I think
I'd like to know what it is now.
I think the difference, Senator, perhaps is that Mr Smythe is responsible for the overall policy and coordination, but operational issues will typically fall within the purview of the operational agency, which is why the Australian Federal Police is best placed to answer questions
Wonderful.
about
Well, before you start getting policy, unlike climate change where there's no data, despite driving that policy, what is the purpose of the Chinese Communist Party contact point in Sydney? What is its purpose?
Senator, I would refer you to the AFP in relation to the evidence that's previously been given by Commissioner Kershaw.
I want to know what it is now.
Yes, Senator,
that was 12 months ago.
And that's an operational issue which Senator Kershaw is well placed to answer. And he will be appearing later tonight.
I want to know what your take on it is. Because
So,
we're trusting you with our
Senator,
security.
I've just made a distinction between our role in providing the overall policy framework and coordination and the individual operational agencies to manage specific operational issues. And I think it's evident from the fact that the evidence last time came from Commissioner Kershaw that this is an operational issue which the AFP is best placed to deal with.
What's your policy for handling the Chinese Communist Party contact points?
Senator,
And what's the basis
issues
of that policy?
Senator Roberts.
relate to that, I think are best referenced to or referred to the Counter Foreign Interference Task Force, which is an ASIO and AFP-led task force that deals with operational matters in relation to foreign interference activity on Australian soil.
I'll acknowledge that you're talking about operations with other people. I want to know what the basis for your policy is in regard to the Chinese Communist Party contact points in Sydney.
Well, Senator...
Because initially they weren't existing, and then we find out they do.
Where foreign governments seek to interfere in the democratic process of Australia, we take an interest, but those issues relate more to operational matters for task force agencies. In relation to the contact point that you're referring to, I'd have to take on notice any specific information that we have that resides in this portfolio.
Okay, can you also take on... That's two questions you've taken on notice. Thank you. Are there Chinese police officers working out of the premises? So if you take that on notice... And are its
Senator, that would be an operational matter for the task force members and also a matter potentially for the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade.
And so, Senator, we're not seeking to be unhelpful. It's just not helpful to you if we take something on notice which we're then going to refer to someone else.
Are there any concerns of the security agencies about potential breaches of Australian national sovereignty?
Senator, that would have to be addressed to the security agencies.
ASIO will be on later today as well, Senator Roberts. There are opportunities for you to ask these questions. It's just that they've got to go to the people who can answer them.
I'd like to know that Home Affairs knows something about this. Should Chinese people living in Sydney and living in Australia be concerned? You're in charge of security.
Well, Senator, again, I'll refer you to previous answers that we've given.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Senator Roberts, is that all the
Thanks,
questions you
Chair.
have?